Welcome to the brand new renovated board that I have just done. And as you can see, I have now got every single team's logo stickers on this board. I just recently bought this, I think a couple of days ago, from Dick's Sporting Goods. And originally, when I first saw that they had this on sale, I immediately bought it because I can put it on the boards here and it can have a nice little design into this board. But when it arrived today, I realized that the stickers that I saw from the Dick's Sporting Goods store, yeah, I didn't think it was that big. And some of these stickers and some of these logo couldn't quite fit in terms of the wall. Originally, I was going to put like the stickers right around this frame, but some of these logo was so big that unfortunately part of the logo couldn't quite stick into the board. And the MLS logo was so big that you can kind of tell it's kind of bent a little bit backwards because the bottom half of the MLS logo is being stick on the board and the other half is not being stick on it. But despite that, it's really cool the fact that I was able to find this. Although next year I'll probably have to once again buy another sets of these because next year that's when Austin FC is going to come into the league, and I don't think I can find that small of a sticker on anywhere besides going to buy a whole set of these. Like, these are probably some of the smallest stickers that I can find. The smallest single stickers that I can find is like 4x4, which is way too big to be stick in the side of my wall. But that being said, let us actually get into today's video where we're going to do a throwback video talking about the 1999 MLS season. And besides the 2001 MLS season, where I think that is probably the most important season in MLS history, this one was not too far. MLS, as you know, back in the early days was really in some deep trouble in terms of financially, and this is a time when the league decided that they were just losing too much money and something's going to have to give. And part of the reason why the league was losing so much revenue is, well, nobody watched the league, and the rules the league has put are just too Americanized, and it just doesn't appeal to traditional soccer fans. So as a result, they decided that, you know what, let's just stop making this league too Americanized and just get rid of the shootout. I mean, the shootout was just kind of ridiculous, and people really hates it. Even a couple of players like Eric Winalda has been long praising the shootout to come to an end. And the good news is it did came to an end, and that this was the last season that it was resolved to tie the game. This was also the last season where the clock, of course, counts down instead of counting up, which means that I think this is also the last season where once the clock hits 0, it actually means it hits 0, and that from now on the clock actually counts up, and we actually have stoppage time that was introduced in the league in the turn of the millennium. The biggest changes from the 1999 MLS season has to be we had a new commissioner, and this is the only commissioner change we had throughout the 25-year existence of MLS. This is when Don Garber became the new MLS commissioner after Doug Logan resigned, and rightfully so. There was a lot of rumbling that he, of course, have to kind of resign because during his reign, the league lost $34 million in this season alone, and it lost $250 million. Like, the league was literally bleeding dry of money as the year goes on, and if this kind of loss of revenue continue, the league is going to eventually fall in the next couple of years. Now, other notable summary from this season is that the Supporter Shield was created this season. So I know the Supporter Shield, it was kind of a statistic thing that was introduced in 1996. They didn't make it official, and that there wasn't really a trophy in the first 3 seasons in MLS, and that this season is really the first season where they actually acknowledge the Supporter Shield is a award, and there actually is a shield that is awarded at the end of the year. And the other most notable thing, and I can't believe I didn't put this on the quick summary, is that this is also the season where we saw the first ever soccer-specific stadium that was built. Mapfre Stadium was built this year, which this was the first time ever that we have ever seen a soccer specific stadium. It really started the trend of eventually all these teams are not going to be played in just cavernous NFL or college football stadium, and they're going to start moving into these newer soccer specific stadium that really kind of one of the reasons why it turned the fortune of this league. Now, in terms of the season summary, DC United, of course, win MLS Cup. This is why I am wearing a DC shirt. They also won the Supporters Shield, and you could say they technically are the first ever team to win the actual award of the Supporters Shield, even though this is, I think, their third Supporter Shield since their existence. Now, despite the fact that DC United did win the double and win MLS Cup and Supporters Shield, this was actually the last year of DC United having that early dominance, because in the turn of the millennial, things would completely go wrong for DC United, and that they wouldn't actually make it back to MLS Cup before 2004, and that I would even give you guys a little bit of a spoiler saying that in 2000, DC United actually finished bottom in the Eastern Conference, and I don't think we have ever seen a team that won MLS Cup one year and then the very next year they can finish bottom of the Eastern Conference. I mean, that's how crazy MLS was in the early years. There was 192 match that was played, which is the same as the previous season. There was 549 goals scored, 2.86 per match, which I think was down from last year. Top goal scorer, there was a three-way tie for the Golden Boot winner. We got Stern John, Roy Lassiter, and Jason Kreis all tied with 18 goals. Highest attendant, unsurprisingly, is the Columbus Crew. Obviously, the first ever soccer-specific stadium definitely drew a lot of people attending the game, and they pretty much sell out almost every single game, averaging 17,696 people, and throughout the season they're averaging 283,129 people. While the lowest attendance, unsurprisingly, the Kansas City Wizard, who has been a bottom feeder in terms of attendance, and there was definitely a lot of rumor that this team could be one of the first one to go, with the way that there wasn't a lot of people attending the games. They only averaged around 8,183 fans, while the season total was 130,924 people attended their game. The total attendance that season was 2,742,102, which was about 5,000 fewer than the previous season, and the average attendance continued to drop to 14,292, and it's just going to continue to drop in the next couple of years. Again, MLS was really losing not only the financial part, but there also was losing fans with the way that people were kind of getting tired with how the league was running and some of the rules that was set. Now, in terms of the standings, in the Western Conference, we once again have the Galaxy finish top of the Western Conference with 20 wins, 12 losses, 3 shootout wins, and 54 points. Now, in second place, it was Dallas with 19 wins, 13 losses, and 3 shootout wins with 51 points. Chicago actually finished third with 18 wins, 14 losses, and 3 shootout wins with 48 points. They were tied with Colorado, who actually had 20 wins, 12 losses, and 6 shootout wins, and had 48 points, which was it's kind of interesting, the fact that they actually decided to put the Fire, who were the defending champion, in third place, even though they had fewer wins than the Rapids. I guess their tiebreaker was probably in terms of goal differential, and it depends on if you have the fewer shootout wins, then that is the tiebreaker of you finishing above the team that had more shootout wins. So yeah, that's probably maybe the reason why that is the case. Now, in fifth place, we had the San Jose Clash, who of course finished with 19 wins, 13 losses, and 10 shootout wins with 37 points. So despite the fact that the Clash had more wins than the Chicago Fire, because of the fact that they had a lot of shootout wins, which is pretty much equivalent to today's draws pretty much, and that they got way too many draws in this game or in this season, that is the reason why they were nowhere near of competing for the playoffs, and there was an 11-point gap between them. And then in sixth place was the Kansas City Wizard, which finished with one of the worst record in the league, but not the worst record in the league with 8 wins, 24 losses, and 2 shootout wins with 20 points. I mean, normally, when you get 20 points in a season, you are definitely going to be finished in the wooden spoon, but that was not the case in this season, and there was actually a team that was worse than this, and it turns out to be one of the worst team ever in MLS history. And I think this season also, when you look at the standings, kind of summarize that, yeah, clearly there is a conference inequity that is going on, and this is when we always say that the Western Conference is so much stronger than the Eastern Conference. This is the first example of it, because in the Eastern Conference we had DC United finish with 23 wins, 9 losses, and 6 losses with 57 points. Columbus finished with 19 wins, 13 losses, 6 shootout wins with 45 points. And then there is the inequality. The Tampa Bay Mutiny, who finished with 14 wins, 18 losses, 5 shootout wins, but they only finished with 32 points in the game. If they were in the Western Conference, they would have not made it the playoffs. And the same can go with the other Florida team, the Miami Fusion, who finished with a record of 13 wins, 19 losses, 5 shootout wins, and 29 points. That is, I think, to this day, that probably is the lowest amount of points to make it to the playoffs, because in any other season, there is no way in the world you can finish the season with 29 points and you can finish above the red line. Heck, I don't think you can finish 32 points in any season nowadays and can even finish a place above the red line. That's how much of inequality that is going on in terms of conference wise, and I have a feeling a lot of these Western Conference teams, well, at least in the San Jose Clash standpoint, they must be pretty pissed off the fact that they not only had more wins than some of the other teams that is above them in the playoffs, but the fact that some of the Eastern Conference team, and a couple of them actually have fewer points than them, and they made it to the playoffs. That's why it's got to be very frustrated that of course is the case. But hey, again, this is the first example of why the Western Conference was just so stacked that unfortunately, even if you finish with a decent record, you're still going to miss out on the playoffs. Whereas in the Eastern Conference, it was an absolute shit show, and that you could literally finish a couple of games or even like 6 games below 500 and you can still make it to the playoffs in this case. Then you got the New England Revolution with 12 wins, 20 losses, and 5 shootout wins with 26 points. Again, 26 points in any season, you would be nowhere near in terms of trying to compete for the playoffs, but they just missed the playoffs by 3 points in this season, and that's kind of a little bit heartbreak, the fact that they had that few amount of points and they just missed the playoffs by that. Then you of course got the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, who has the league worst record with 7 wins, 25 losses, 3 shootout wins with 15 points to their name. To this day, only the Tampa Bay Mutiny in the 2001 season had fewer points than the Metro Stars had. I mean, that, if I was going to do a ranking in terms of some of the worst team ever in MLS history, the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars in the 1999 season is definitely going to be one of them. Like, to finish the season with just 15 team points, that is definitely kind of embarrassing. Now, in terms of Player of the Month award, we got Ante Rossi finish as the Player of the Month in March. Then we have Musa Shannon in April. May was Ray Lassiter. June was Jason Christ. July was Raul Diaz-Ars. August was Matt Jordan. And September was Rano Cerritos. Now, the end of the season award, you're going to recognize some of the name in this because some of them are actually still in MLS, whether if they are a coach there. Well, most of them are a coach there, and then there's also one specific name in there that actually have an award named after him. So in MVP, we had Jason Christ, who's now currently the U23 U.S. men's national team coach. In terms of the Golden Boot, we had Jason Christ, Stern John, and Roy Lassiter. As I mentioned, they all finished at the top of the Golden Boot chart with 18 goals apiece. Defender of the year was Robin Fraser, who is now the current head coach of Colorado. Goalkeeper of the year was Kevin Hartman. Rookie of the year was Jay Hayes. Coach of the year is Ziggy Smith, who, as I mentioned earlier before, there was one specific name that has an award that is named after him, and this is basically the case where Ziggy Smith, later on, who of course sadly passed away a couple of years, was was now being recognized as not only a coach that have won the Coach of the Year twice, but now has his name in terms of the award as now it is called the Ziggy Schmidt Coach of the Year. Goal of the Year came from Marco Echeverri, and then the Fair Play Award is from Steve Ralston, which I believe this is the second year in a row that Steve Ralston has won this award. So he must have done some very good thing in the league to actually earn the Fair Play Award for the second year in a row. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the recap of the 1999 MLS season. I think next week I am going to do kind of a recap in terms of the 1999 MLS playoffs. And remember, in that playoffs, that was the last ever season where we actually have shootout to determine who exactly is going to win the game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever watched the night, or if you were supporting a team or watch MLS back in 1999. What was your favorite moment in that season? Obviously, I can't tell you what my favorite moment of that season because I was only 1 year old when the 1999 MLS season started, and I was definitely not supporting any of these teams back in 1999. But let me know in the comments below what your favorite memory is from the 1999 MLS season. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.